I'll tell you something right now. Mississippi is about to shatter every single stereotype you've ever heard about this state. By the time we reach the final fact, you'll understand why Mississippi has been hiding some of America's most incredible secrets. Number 35. The teddy bear was invented here. The teddy bear, one of the most beloved toys in history, was inspired by an event that happened in Mississippi in 1902. President Theodore Roosevelt was on a bear hunting trip near Onward when his guides cornered a black bear and suggested he shoot it for an easy kill. Roosevelt refused, considering it unsportsmanlike. A political cartoon of the event went viral, and a Brooklyn toy maker created a stuffed bear called Teddy's Bear in honor of Roosevelt's compassion. Every teddy bear in the world traces its origin to a Mississippi hunting trip where a president refused to take a cheap shot. There's a museum in Onward dedicated to this moment, celebrating how Mississippi accidentally created the world's most popular stuffed animal. Number 34. Vicksburg's siege lasted 47 days. The Siege of Vicksburg in 1863 was one of the most brutal episodes of the Civil War. Union forces under Ulysses S. Grant surrounded the city and bombarded it for 47 days, while residents and Confederate soldiers hid in caves dug into the hillsides. People ate rats, mules, and anything they could find. When Vicksburg finally surrendered on July 4, 1863, it gave the Union complete control of the Mississippi River, effectively cutting the Confederacy in half. The city was so traumatized that residents didn't celebrate Independence Day for over 80 years. Today, Vicksburg National Military Park preserves the siege lines, trenches, and monuments. The geography of Vicksburg, perched on high bluffs overlooking the Mississippi River, made it the key to controlling the entire river valley. Number 33. The longest beach in America. Mississippi's Gulf Coast has the longest man-made beach in the world, 26 miles of white sand stretching from Biloxi to Henderson Point. The beach was created in the 1950s by dredging sand from the Mississippi Sound and pumping it onto the shoreline. Highway 90 runs parallel to the entire beach, making it easily accessible. The geography of the Mississippi Sound, a shallow bay protected by barrier islands, creates calm waters perfect for swimming. Hurricane Katrina devastated this coastline in 2005. But the beach has been rebuilt and remains one of the state's top attractions. Standing on the beach in Biloxi, looking at the Antebellum mansions across the highway, you're seeing the coast where Mississippi meets the Gulf. Number 32. Coca-Cola was first bottled here. While Coca-Cola was invented in Atlanta, the first bottling of Coca-Cola took place in Vicksburg, Mississippi in 1894. A candy store owner named Joseph Biedenharn installed bottling machinery in the back of his shop and began selling Coca-Cola in glass bottles. Before this, Coke was only available at soda fountains. Biedenharn's innovation allowed Coca-Cola to be transported and sold anywhere, transforming it from a local drink into a global brand. The Biedenharn Coca-Cola Museum in Vicksburg preserves this history. Every bottled Coke you've ever drunk traces its lineage to a candy store in Mississippi, where someone realized soda could travel in bottles. Number 31. Elvis was born in Tupelo. Elvis Presley was born in a two-room shotgun house in Tupelo in 1935. The house, built by his father for $180, still stands and is now a museum. Elvis lived in Tupelo until age 13 when his family moved to Memphis. The house is tiny, about 450 square feet, and shows the poverty Elvis grew up in before becoming the king of rock and roll. The geography of Tupelo, a small town in northeastern Mississippi, shaped Elvis's early exposure to gospel, blues, and country music. Standing in that little house, you're in the exact room where one of the most influential musicians in history was born. Mississippi gave the world Elvis, and Tupelo preserves the humble beginning of his story. Number 30. The Mississippi Delta is the birthplace of the blues. The Mississippi Delta isn't actually a river delta. It's the flat alluvial floodplain between the Mississippi and Yazoo rivers. This region, with its cotton plantations and sharecropper poverty, gave birth to the Delta Blues. Musicians like Robert Johnson, Muddy Waters, B.B. King, and John Lee Hooker came from the Delta and created music that expressed the pain, struggle, and resilience of Black life in the Jim Crow South. Clarksdale is considered the heart of Delta blues, home to the famous crossroads where legend says Robert Johnson sold his soul to the devil. The geography of the Delta, isolated, poor, but rich in cultural tradition, created the conditions for the blues to emerge. Every rock, soul, and R&B song you've ever heard traces its roots to Mississippi Delta blues. Number 29. Windsor ruins are Mississippi's most photographed site. Windsor ruins near Port Gibson are the remains of what was once the largest antebellum mansion in Mississippi. Built in 1861, the mansion survived the Civil War but was destroyed by fire in 1890. All that remains are 23 towering Corinthian columns rising from the ground like a Greek temple. The columns are hauntingly beautiful, especially at sunset when they cast long shadows. The ruins have been used in movies and are the most photographed site in Mississippi. The geography of the site, on a hill overlooking the Mississippi River, gave Windsor commanding views. Today, the columns stand as monuments to both antebellum grandeur and its inevitable collapse. Number 28. The Natchez Trace is 10,000 years old. The Natchez Trace Parkway follows an ancient trail used by Native Americans for at least 10,000 years. The 444-mile scenic road runs from Natchez, Mississippi to Nashville, Tennessee, following the original trace that connected the Mississippi River to the interior. Bison, Native Americans, then European explorers, traders, and settlers all use this route. The geography of the trace follows high ground and ridgelines to avoid swampy bottomland. You can still see sections of the original sunken trace, pathways worn into the earth by thousands of feet over millennia. Driving the Natchez Trace through Mississippi, you're following one of the oldest roads in North America, a route that's been a highway for 100 centuries. Number 27. Catfish farming is a billion-dollar industry. Mississippi produces more farm-raised catfish than any other state, about 60% of all catfish consumed in America. The flat delta farmland with its clay soil holds water perfectly, creating ideal conditions for catfish ponds. From the air, the delta looks like a checkerboard of rectangular ponds stretching to the horizon. The industry employs thousands and generates over $1 billion annually. Towns like Belzoni call themselves the catfish capital of the world. The geography of the delta, flatland with heavy soil and abundant water, made it perfect for transforming cotton fields into catfish ponds when cotton farming declined. Before continuing, be sure to subscribe and leave a like to keep discovering strange and incredible facts about every U.S. state. Number 26. The Petrified Forest is 36 million years old. The Mississippi Petrified Forest near Flora contains trees that turned to stone 36 million years ago. A massive flood during the Oligocene epoch washed logs into the area and buried them in sediment. Over millions of years, minerals replaced the organic material, creating stone replicas of the original trees. You can walk trails through the forest and see massive petrified logs lying where they fell. The logs are so detailed you can see bark patterns and growth rings. The geology here preserved a snapshot of what Mississippi looked like when it was a tropical forest millions of years before humans existed. Number 25. Jim Henson created the Muppets here. Jim Henson, creator of the Muppets, was born in Greenville, Mississippi in 1936. Kermit the Frog was supposedly inspired by Henson's childhood in the Mississippi Delta, where frogs were abundant. Henson created his first puppet in high school and went on to revolutionize children's television with Sesame Street and The Muppet Show. A museum in his hometown celebrates his legacy. Mississippi gave the world Kermit, Miss Piggy, Big Bird, and countless other characters that shaped childhood for generations. Every time you hear "It's not easy being green," remember it came from a kid who grew up in the Mississippi Delta. Number 24. Beauvoir was Jefferson Davis's last home. Beauvoir, the last home of Confederate President Jefferson Davis, sits on the Gulf Coast in Biloxi. Davis lived here from 1877 until his death in 1889, and it's where he wrote his memoir defending the Confederacy. The estate includes the main house, a library pavilion, and the Jefferson Davis Presidential Library. Hurricane Katrina severely damaged Beauvoir in 2005, but it's been restored. The site represents Mississippi's complicated relationship with its Confederate past, a history that's both preserved and increasingly contested. The geography of the Gulf Coast made Beauvoir an ideal retirement home, with ocean breezes and southern charm. Number 23. The Pascagoula River is the largest unobstructed river. The Pascagoula River system in southeastern Mississippi is the largest unobstructed river in the continental United States, meaning no dams interrupt its flow from source to sea. The river and its swamps support incredible biodiversity, including alligators, black bears, and rare plants. The geography of the coastal plain creates a slow-moving river through vast swampland. The river's freedom from dams makes it ecologically unique, providing a glimpse of what southern rivers looked like before they were all controlled and channelized. Number 22. Jimmie Rodgers invented country music. Jimmie Rodgers, the father of country music, was from Meridian, Mississippi. In the late 1920s, Rodgers blended blues, jazz, and folk music into a new sound that became country music. His songs like Blue Yodel influenced every country artist who followed. Rodgers died of tuberculosis at age 35, but his short career established country music as a commercial genre. The Jimmie Rodgers Museum in Meridian preserves his legacy. Mississippi didn't just give America the blues, it also gave us country music through a railroad worker who synthesized all the sounds he heard into something new. Number 21. The Grand Village of the Natchez is 700 years old. The Grand Village of the Natchez near Natchez was the main ceremonial center of the Natchez people, occupied from about 1200 AD until the French destroyed the tribe in the 1730s. The site includes 3 ceremonial mounds, a museum, and reconstructed buildings. The Natchez had a complex society with a powerful chief called the Great Sun. The geography of the site, on high ground overlooking St. Catherine Creek, provided defense and access to water. Today, it's one of the most important archaeological sites in the Southeast, preserving the culture of a people who were nearly annihilated by European colonization. Number 20. The Mississippi River is 2,350 miles long. The Mississippi River, which gives the state its name, is the second longest river in North America at 2,350 miles. The river forms the entire western border of Mississippi, and controlling it has always been crucial to the state's economy. The river's annual floods deposited the rich soil that makes the delta so fertile. Before the levee system was built, the Mississippi would spread miles wide during floods, constantly reshaping the landscape. The geography of the river, its size, power, and unpredictability has defined Mississippi's history more than any other feature. Number 19. Biloxi was the first capital of French Louisiana. Biloxi was founded by the French in 1699 and served as the capital of French Louisiana until the capital moved to Mobile, then New Orleans. Fort Maurepas was built to establish French claims to the Gulf Coast. The geography of Biloxi, a protected bay with access to the Gulf, made it ideal for a colonial capital. Today, Biloxi is known for casinos and seafood, but its French heritage remains in place, names, and architecture. Mississippi's Gulf Coast was where France first established its foothold in Louisiana, making Biloxi one of the oldest European settlements in the Southeast. Number 18. The Stennis Space Center tests rocket engines. The Stennis Space Center in Hancock County is where NASA tests rocket engines. Every Space Shuttle main engine was tested here, and today it tests engines for the Space Launch System. The test stands shake the ground for miles when engines fire, and the sound is deafening. The geography of southwestern Mississippi, remote, sparsely populated, with access to water for cooling, made it perfect for rocket testing. Mississippi doesn't just launch rockets like Alabama, it tests them first, making sure they won't explode when astronauts are aboard. Number 17. The Chunky River's name isn't what you think. The Chunky River in east-central Mississippi gets its name from the Choctaw word chunky, referring to a traditional game played with stone discs. The river is small but flows through beautiful hardwood forests. The name is a reminder that Mississippi's geography is layered with Native American history, preserved in river names, town names, and the land itself. Almost every river, creek, and landmark in Mississippi has a Native American name because these were Native American lands for thousands of years before Europeans arrived. Number 16. Hattiesburg was the first city with a university for women. Mississippi University for Women in Columbus, established in 1884, was the first public university for women in the United States. It was a radical idea, providing higher education exclusively for women at a time when most universities were men-only. The university maintained its women-only status until 1982, when it was forced to admit men. The geography of Columbus, a wealthy town in the Black Prairie region, provided the economic support to establish the university. It represents Mississippi's complicated history of progressivism within a deeply conservative social structure. Number 15. The Noxubee National Wildlife Refuge protects the red-cockaded woodpecker. The Noxubee National Wildlife Refuge in east-central Mississippi protects one of the largest populations of the endangered red-cockaded woodpecker. These birds nest only in old-growth longleaf pine trees, an ecosystem that's been 97% destroyed. The refuge preserves over 48,000 acres of forest, swamps, and lakes. The geography of the refuge, rolling hills with pine forests and bottomland hardwoods, provides habitat for hundreds of species. It's proof that Mississippi is working to protect what remains of its natural heritage. Number 14. Medgar Evers was assassinated in his driveway. Civil rights activist Medgar Evers was murdered in the driveway of his Jackson home on June 12, 1963, shot in the back by white supremacist Byron Della Beckwith. Evers was the NAACP's first field secretary in Mississippi and worked to overturn segregation. His assassination galvanized the civil rights movement. The house is now a museum, preserved exactly as it was that night. Standing in that driveway, you're at the spot where Mississippi's violent resistance to civil rights was exposed to the nation. Evers's death helped push passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Number 13. The Mississippi Delta is perfectly flat. The Mississippi Delta is one of the flattest regions in America. You can see for miles in every direction across cotton and soybean fields. The land is so flat that farmers use laser levels to ensure proper field drainage. This geography was created by thousands of years of Mississippi River floods depositing sediment. The flatness made it perfect for plantation agriculture, which shaped the Delta's history of slavery, sharecropping, and the Great Migration, when black residents fled north to escape oppression. The landscape is beautiful in its starkness, endless fields under enormous skies. Number 12. Roanoke was William Faulkner's home. Roanoke in Oxford was the home of author William Faulkner from 1930 until his death in 1962. Faulkner wrote many of his greatest works here, including Absalom, Absalom. The house is preserved as it was when he lived there, including the wall where he outlined the plot of A Fable in pencil. The geography of Oxford and North Mississippi inspired Faulkner's fictional Yoknapatawpha County. Walking through Roanoke, you're in the house where one of America's greatest novelists created an entire mythical world based on Mississippi. Number 11. The Mississippi Flyway is a major bird migration route. The Mississippi Flyway is one of 4 major North American bird migration routes, and Mississippi sits at its heart. Millions of birds travel this route annually, using the Mississippi River as a highway. The state's wetlands, forests, and agricultural fields provide crucial stopover habitat. The geography of Mississippi, positioned along the river with diverse ecosystems, makes it essential for continental bird migration. Spring and fall bring waves of warblers, waterfowl, and shorebirds passing through. Number 10. The crossroads where Robert Johnson sold his soul. According to legend, blues musician Robert Johnson met the devil at the crossroads of Highway 61 and Highway 49 in Clarksdale and traded his soul for musical genius. Whether true or not, the legend captures the mystique of Delta blues. A marker at the crossroads attracts blues pilgrims from around the world. The geography of the Delta, isolated, poor, steeped in African-American culture, created the conditions for these legends to emerge and for the blues to become America's most influential music. Number 9. Vicksburg National Cemetery holds 17,000 Union soldiers. Vicksburg National Cemetery, part of the military park, contains over 17,000 graves, including nearly 13,000 unidentified Union soldiers. It's one of the largest Civil War cemeteries in the nation. The rows of white headstones stretching across the hillside are overwhelming in their scale. The geography of Vicksburg, the fortress that had to be taken to win the war, meant that when it fell, the casualties were enormous. The cemetery is a stark reminder of the price paid to preserve the Union. Number 8. The Mississippi State Penitentiary is on a plantation. Parchman Farm, the Mississippi State Penitentiary, sits on 28,000 acres of former plantation land in the Delta. Established in 1901, it operated as a prison plantation where inmates, mostly black men, picked cotton under conditions barely different from slavery. The geography of the Delta, flat, fertile, and isolated, made it ideal for a prison farm. Parchman has a brutal history of violence and abuse, but it remains operational today. Blues musicians like Booka White and Lead Belly spent time at Parchman, and their songs documented its horrors. Number 7. The poverty rate tells a hard truth. Mississippi has the highest poverty rate in the United States, a statistic that reflects the state's history of slavery, sharecropping, segregation, and underinvestment in education and infrastructure. The geography of the Delta and other rural areas, where opportunities are limited and good jobs scarce, concentrates poverty, but this statistic obscures the resilience, creativity, and culture that have emerged from hardship. Mississippi's poverty is real and must be acknowledged, but so is the strength of its people who've created world-changing music, literature, and civil rights activism despite systemic oppression. Number 6. The Mississippi Museum of Art showcases Southern creativity. The Mississippi Museum of Art in Jackson houses the state's premier art collection, focusing on Mississippi artists and the relationship between art and the land. The museum shows that Mississippi isn't just a place of struggle, it's also a place of incredible creativity. Artists like Walter Anderson, Marie Hull, and contemporary artists continue a tradition of interpreting Mississippi's landscape, history, and culture through art. The museum represents Mississippi's ongoing cultural contribution beyond music and literature. Number 5. The Civil Rights Movement transformed Mississippi. Mississippi was the most violent and resistant state during the Civil Rights Movement. The murders of Medgar Evers, James Chaney, Andrew Goodman, and Michael Schwerner, the Freedom Riders being beaten and arrested, the Freedom Summer voter registration campaign, all happened in Mississippi. The geography of rural Mississippi, with its small towns where white supremacy was enforced through terror, made it the most dangerous place for civil rights workers. But Mississippi activists like Fannie Lou Hamer, Aaron Henry, and countless others persisted, and their courage helped dismantle Jim Crow. The Mississippi Civil Rights Museum in Jackson tells this story. Number 4. Natchez has more antebellum homes than anywhere. Natchez, perched on bluffs overlooking the Mississippi River, has over 1,000 antebellum structures, more than any other city in America. These mansions, built with wealth from cotton and slavery, are architectural masterpieces. The annual pilgrimage tours allow visitors to see inside. The geography of Natchez, high bluffs safe from floods with access to river shipping, made it incredibly wealthy before the Civil War. The homes are beautiful, but they're also monuments to an economy built on enslaving people. Natchez forces you to confront the contradiction of stunning architecture funded by human bondage. Number 3. The Gulf Islands. National Seashore protects barrier islands. The Gulf Islands National Seashore preserves barrier islands off Mississippi's coast, including Ship Island, accessible by ferry from Gulfport. These islands are pure white sand beaches and dunes with no development. Fort Massachusetts on Ship Island was used by Union forces during the Civil War. The geography of these barrier islands, constantly shifting sand protecting the mainland from hurricanes, makes them dynamic and fragile. Hurricane Katrina cut Ship Island in half, and it's only recently been reconnected. The islands represent Mississippi's natural Gulf Coast before casinos and development. Number 2. The Battle of Corinth was a turning point. The Battle of Corinth in October 1862 was a Confederate attempt to retake the strategic railroad junction at Corinth. The Union victory ended Confederate hopes of regaining control of northern Mississippi and the railroad. The geography of Corinth, where two major railroads intersected, made it one of the most strategically important locations in the Western theater. Today, the battlefield is preserved, and you can walk the earthworks where soldiers fought. Corinth shows how geography, a railroad crossroads, could determine where battles were fought. Number 1. The Mississippi River shaped everything. The final and most defining fact is that the Mississippi River is why this state exists at all. The river gave Mississippi its name, its borders, its economy, and its identity. Before levees, the river flooded annually, depositing the rich soil that made the Delta the most productive cotton land in America. Controlling the Mississippi River, through Vicksburg, Natchez, and other river ports, was essential to America's westward expansion and economic growth. The geography of the river, its size, power, and unpredictability determined where cities were built, how wealth was created, and how the Civil War was won. The Mississippi River doesn't just flow past Mississippi. It created Mississippi. Every economic, political, and cultural fact about the state traces back to this river that's been flowing for millions of years and will keep flowing long after we're gone. Standing on the levee looking at the Mississippi River, you're looking at the force that made this state. Now that you know these 35 facts about Mississippi, tell us which one surprised you the most. Drop it in the comments, and let's see how many of us picked the same one. And if you've got your own Mississippi fact to share, we'd love to hear it. Your comments help us make every video better. And don't forget to subscribe and give it a like so we can keep exploring the hidden stories of every state together. See you in the next one.